Hello, welcome to this video discussing the subject of Blue Open Studio communicating to controllers running the CODESYS system. For our example system here, we will be using a Schneider Electric M262 PLC, which is one of the PLCs in the Schneider Electric machine PLC's lineup, and it is running a CODESYS engine. But for this example, most of this stuff applies to any generic CODESYS system, and indeed we will be using the generic CODESYS driver that comes with Blue Open Studio. And that can talk to any CODESYS system running version 2 or version 3. And in this video, we're going to focus on using version 3. Okay, so a little bit of an agenda here. We'll just go through a little introduction in the basics. We'll look at the CODESYS programming environment. In this case, it's the Schneider Electric Machine Expert, but when you see it, you'll notice it looks similar to some other CODESYS environments. But at the end of the day, you're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at the Blue Open Studio environment, and then we'll actually get stuff talking and communicating. Okay, so as an introduction and some basics about this, so in Blue Open Studio, you're going to select what's called the CODESYS driver. Okay, the driver supports CODESYS controllers for version 2 or version 3. Like I said, this video will focus on version 3. One absolute thing to note about version 3 is that version 3 requires that a symbol configuration be created in, like I say here, I say the CODESYS environment. And what we're really talking about is that it needs to be part of the project that is running in the controller. Okay, and then there are different ways to create a connection to a CODESYS environment with this particular driver. In this video, we're going to focus on the RD3 type client connection. Okay, and then tag integration and some limited online browsing is supported. And what I say by limited is you can actually, through the tag integration functionality, you can actually take a live look at the tags that are in the controller. But currently we say this is limited because this is not supporting authentication. So your PLC has to be set up without any user rights or privileges. If there's no user rights or privileges, you can basically browse the live tags while the PLC is running with Blue Open Studio. Okay, and then driver sheets, main driver sheets, and regular driver sheets can also be used concurrently or exclusively with this driver. Okay, so let's start off here in my CODESYS environment. Like I said, in this case, I'm using the Schneider Electric Machine Expert software, but like I said, this would be similar CODESYS environments to others or for others. And you can see what I've done here is I've just created a real simple POU right here. If you look at my applications tree, I just created a little counter POU. I just have it running here, and it has a task. Okay, so if you look here in the actual POU itself, you can see here's the local variables to the POU, and you can see I just have a couple of blinkers running. Oops, where I can change the time, etc. on them. So what I'm going to do in this environment, I'm going to go to the tools tree. So what I need to do, like I said, to allow communications between the Blue Open Studio version 3 driver and this controller, I need to add what's called a symbol configuration. And in this software, what I'm going to do here is in my tools tree and under my application, I'm going to add, and I have to go to add other objects, and then you'll see down in here in the list, I have what's called a symbol configuration. I'm going to add this, and I'm just going to leave everything at default and say add. And now it's going to go ahead and add the symbol configuration to the project. You can see in this software, it opens up this tab. So what I'm going to go to, what I need to do first is actually in this, like I said, in this environment, I'm gonna go ahead and build this. Okay. Now after it's built, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say these are what symbols do I want to have available to me, and I'm just going to in this case I'm just going to do what I have in the POU, and if I expand that, you can see. So these would be all the things that will be exposed to Blue Open Studio and its CODESYS driver. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and build, and then I'm going to go ahead and deploy that to this PLC. Okay, so now you can see that through the magic of video editing, you can see I've actually saved, built, and deployed, and put into run that project with the symbol configuration. You can kind of see here. Here's my POU, and you can kind of see the values running back and forth, etc. Okay. Okay, so now we are in the Blue Open Studio environment. And let's go ahead and make a new project. And we'll say project CODESYS example. And we'll pick a Windows runtime. We'll go through our same routine when we create projects. Get rid of security. Okay, finish. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's take a look at the help file for the CODESYS communication driver so we can get a picture of how we actually need to and how we can connect to the CODESYS controller. Okay, so we're going to we go to in the help file under the help ribbon, go to communication drivers, we pick the CODESYS driver, we hit help, and you'll see this will open up the CODESYS driver guide. And when you scroll through here, and the thing that we're going to be interested in is I know that I'm going to do tag integration, so that's kind of a whole nother subject. And so for this video, I guess I'm assuming that you, as the viewer, know a little bit about tag integration. Don't worry. If you don't, I will show it, so it's not going to be a complete surprise. But basically, what I'm really interested in here is how am I going to make the connection to the physical PC? What does that connection string look like so I can get to the PLC that I'm concerned with? So you can see I've scrolled down to CODESYS version 3X, which this is what I'm concerned with. And here, this is where the manual talks about creating the symbol configuration, just like we did in very similar to what we just showed in the video. Okay. And then you could see here's the communication settings. Here is where it talks about the authentication. And like I said at the beginning, for now we're going to leave authentication off. And right now the PLC is running without any authentication required. And we're doing that so we can browse the tags or the symbols live from the tag integration feature of Blue Open Studio. Okay, so I'm scrolling down here, and we get to the driver sheets, etc. Okay, and the thing that I'm concerned with here is you could see in this station field, you could see there are many different ways that you can formulate a station number to communicate to the PLC. And the one that we're going to be concerned with today is this. Is the first one here on top, and that's basically using what's called the node name way, so to speak, of talking to this PLC. So once I know this format, what I can actually do with that is that if I actually now go back to my CODESYS environment, so now back in my CODESYS environment, at least in the Schneider CODESYS Machine Expert environment, what you'll notice is in the controller tab, when I call up the PLC, currently I'm connected to it via a USB cable. And what you could see is when I've highlighted it here, that the thing that I'm concerned with for the CODESYS driver in Blue Open Studio is this node name down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make a copy of this. So I have that. Okay, so back in the Blue Open Studio environment, if we just real quick go back to the driver manual and we look at the format. So what you can kind of see there is in the driver sheet, you can actually see you prefix the RD3, the comma, and then that node name from the controller that you're trying to connect to. Okay, so we've basically copied that node name, that node name from the controller, and we're ready to use it. So now I'm going to close out of here. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go into the tag integration section of the project. So it's under the project ribbon under communication, and in the tag integration area, I'm going to add a tag integration. It's going to be the CODESYS. I'm going to leave the prefix the same. I'm going to say add. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is, and then it's under the runtime version, it's CODESYS version 3. And then basically all I need to do in the runtime address field is I don't need to, in this field, I do not need, like the driver sheet, I do not need the RD3 here. So that's an important clarification. And basically I'm just going to go ahead and paste that node name that I got from the CODESYS environment. And then in many cases, what we would do is if we didn't have the ability to be online with the PLC, for example, what I can do is I can actually create an XML file from that symbol file. And then what you can do is you can use that as an offline file instead of having to be online to the PLC. And in that case, you would just simply check this box. And that could actually be subject of another video. But in this case, all we're really doing, because we're going to live browse the PLC, what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and we just need that connection name in the runtime address field. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So now after making those settings in the tag integration piece, we should be ready to live browse the tags in the controller. So to illustrate that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and add a screen to the project. And then on that screen, I'm going ahead and I'm going to add an object. Then within the object, I'm going to go to the tag browser. And you can see it's created my device folder. And you can see you can expand it. Here's the application. Give it a few seconds to refresh. You can hit the refresh here. Again, give it a little bit of time. And there's my counter. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say for my counter, I'm going to say time high. Go ahead. I'm going to say, I'm going to go in here. This is going to be time low. And again, you can see when you use those tags, you can see how they go from light gray to black to show that they're actually being used. And then I'm going to take, how about if we take a lamp? Let's just go get a lamp here. Oops, I want one of these. Take a lamp, put it on the screen. Same thing, let's browse. And let's take this blink 0, done. Okay, go ahead and save this screen. Save. Go ahead and close the symbols. So now we'll go ahead and run this project. Okay, I'll bring it up into here. And you can see we're getting our 2.5 seconds for our counter, and that's what the duty cycle of this lamp should be. If we can come in here, you can get, I'll make it 1 second and 1 second just to make it faster. So you can see that I can read and write those variables, etc. Okay, so now the next steps that we're going to do is what I've done behind the scenes is I've gone into my CODESYS PLC and I have enabled user rights management, which basically means I need a username and a password enabled in order for me to log into the PLC and also for this driver to actually communicate to the PLC. So now one thing that will happen is that will render the uh, online tag browsing that will not function anymore, but the base project will still function. So the tags that you've already brought in will still function. And that's like what we've talked about before, like in the case of the Rockwell tag integration, is that's because we've created basically a hidden driver sheet that has all those tags that we've used. Okay, so now we do need to be able to use authentication, and in that case, then we do need to basically add the driver to the project. And what you'll see is if you go to the drivers and you tell it to add a driver, you'll see it actually added the driver to the project. It's just that you don't see it in the user environment. Okay, but when I click OK, now I will have the driver. And what I do, and in this case, even though you'll see a driver sheet, it won't have anything in it. I don't, in this case, I don't really need the driver sheet right now. I just want to be able to do the authentication piece. So to do the authentication piece, I'm going to go ahead and right click on the CODESYS driver folder. I'm going to go to the settings, and then what you'll notice in settings is you have an authentication area. I'm going to go to the authentication. In the authentication dialog now, you'll see three places. You'll see a station, you'll see a username, and a password. So in the station, you for sure need the node name of the PLC, which should still be on my clipboard. It's not, so let me go get it. So here I am back in my CODESYS environment, and I need my node name. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that here. Okay. I'm going to go back to my Blue Open Studio environment. Okay. So now what we have to do in this station field now, like the driver sheet, we do need to append the RT3 in here. So I need to say RT3, again, a nuance, but very important. So we need to say RT3, comma, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste in that node name. Okay. Now under username, this is going to obviously have to match the username and password that I have set up in my PLC. Okay. And through the magic of video editing, because I didn't want to show you my password, this is what the final field should look like. You'll have the RD3 plus the node name in the station field with your whatever username and password that you've applied. And now we click OK, and now, okay, so now the project should be able to run and communicate using that username and password. Okay, and you can see, there we go, there we're communicating. There's our 1 second counters. I can make these even faster. Let's see how that goes. You can kind of see the driver's working fairly well. So in summary, what we can say about this subject is Blue Open Studio, using the Blue Open Studio CODESYS driver via tag integration allows us to browse the PLC live and look at the tags that exist within that PLC as long as there is a simple configuration. The drawback to this today is that this is only supported via unsecured communications. And as the video showed, we can establish that, we can use it, and then go back and establish communications, and that will not break the communications that did exist, as long as we, of course, get the right credentials put in. Okay. Normal tag integration can also be supported, and that's done with an XML file generated by the symbol file, and then tag integration can be used, like we've kind of iterated before, tag integration can be used in conjunction with driver sheets, main driver sheets, and regular driver sheets. Okay, so thanks for watching.